Hello everyone, you guys are welcome to another of my review. Like I said, today I will be sharing my experience as a wedding photographer and a wedding videographer. Today I want to talk about things that could help you, have a better experience as a wedding and wedding photographer and wedding videographer, as well as a client. So this review is meant for everyone. First of all, my name is Videography. I am a wedding and a portrait photographer based in the United Kingdom. And so I have been in the wedding industry for the past more than a decade now. And so I have a lot of experience when it comes to wedding. And one of the reasons why I'm sharing this is also for a lot of young photographers who are just starting up as well. And for couples to be aware of certain things, maybe pitfall, things that they can avoid when they're negotiating or talking to a photographer or a videographer in their wedding process. Okay, so I think this review will help everyone, wherever you are. So I want you to relax. I'll also be sharing some of the pictures today. Some of the pictures I've taken during weddings, I'll be sharing them as I go all along. I put a lot of notes down today, so I'm just gonna share certain things. It's gonna be a long one, and so this will be the first in the series of the wedding I wanted to do, and I think this is important. So the first thing I wanted to talk about is managing expectations today. There are few things that I've discovered that cause issues when it comes to couples and photographers and videographers having issues. The first one is obviously managing expectations, and you need to manage expectations, because if expectations are not properly managed, you are going to end up in a lot of issues, and I mean a lot of issues. You need to understand, first of all, if the couple, if they like your work, do not assume they like your work. Just ask them. Like the way I do it is because I get recommendation from a lot of people, and they come to me, they say, oh, somebody recommended you to me. But the next thing is, have you seen my photos? Have you seen things? A lot of photographers probably do not care about that process. They just want to negotiate about money and everything. But the problem you're going to face at the end of the day is the couples may not like your work. They may not like your photos. And you will have, been deep into the whole planning and everything. And then you realize that, and you just want to go ahead and you hit a brick wall. Even if the couples as well, we hit a brick wall at some point, because they probably will not like what you're taking. So I normally ask my couples, before we talk about pricing, I'll give them my website to go and have a look and check. And 90%, 99% of the time they do come back and they're happy. But I've seen a situation whereby one or two did not come back. So you don't want to engage with someone who doesn't like what you do. It might look so simple, but it's very important in my own opinion. Also, manage expectations about things like timeline, when you're going to be delivering things, manage expectation about what they like. Understand what this couple prioritize, what is important to them. Manage your expectation about the photos that they're going to be getting, the timelines for the photos, and when you're going to be getting to their weddings, what they need to do at a certain time. Probably you're going to be doing some pre-wedding photo shoot, date, also the delivery and things like that. So managing expectation is a very comprehensive topic, but make sure that you're all on the same page, and they understand how you work and how you're going to deliver your work, including how you're going to be editing your work. Because some couples, I'm telling you, they expect you to do probably high-end retouching for all the photos, which is not possible. And I've seen ridiculous things whereby some people want certain type of editing that is clearly different from what you do, and for what any wedding photographer would do anyway. But because their expectation is so high, they want everything, they want this, they want that. If you do not manage it, it is the responsibility of the photographer and the videographer to manage these expectations. And I cannot stress it enough, it is very critical. The second thing is communication and documentation. Make sure you document all your communication that you're going to be having. This will save a lot of people. It will save you a lot of stress. When I say document them, make sure you have a trail of email. Beyond that, if you're using text, anything, phone, make sure you don't delete any text. It's very important. This is where people have most problem, communications. When you don't communicate well with your client, or your client do not communicate with you properly, there's bound to be issues. But if you have things documented, you are protecting yourself. Even for the client as well, they are protecting themselves if things are well documented. This brought me to my story when I said I was almost sued, and probably I would have been in jail at the bar. The only thing that saved me in that process was just a trail, one trail of email. In that trail of email, I also included my contract now, which I will talk about next, contract, okay? But before I get into the contract part, in that trail of email, I did make it clear to them that, the editing of photos and the way I'll deliver them is based in my own discretion, and it's also in their contract which they signed. Okay, so, and that is why I will move to the next thing, which is contract. For a photographer and a videographer, you need to have a contract for client to sign. I don't know about any genre of photography or videography, any else that, it's as complex as wedding. Wedding is so complex that, this is somebody's wedding day. It cannot be recreated or redo, so you have to do it one time. And you have to remember that this is very important to people. It's a day that they've been looking forward to, not only them, their families, their friends. It's just so important. You cannot play with it. So having your communication, but not just beyond that, also having a contract whereby everything is laid out. I once have a couple who read every single line of my contract, and they came back to me to say I should change this, I should remove this, blah blah blah. It was a lot of back and forth. So that couple, the funny thing was that when I first reached out to them about contract, they said, "Oh, I don't need contract. We already have a conversation. I know who you are. I know blah blah blah." I said, "Oh, I know you know me. You know all these things, but please, you still have to sign this contract." He tried as much for over a week to just say it's not, the contract doesn't matter. Eventually, I encouraged him to go by the contract. I will not move forward without him going through the contract. He went through the contract, and this guy came about almost a lot of changes in that contract. And I said to him, I said, "But you told me that it wasn't important that you should do contract or you should go over it, but you came over with all these changes." And it was like, "Oh, I thought it wasn't be important, but now after going through it, I realized that it's actually good that you did this, because I think if we hadn't done this, I probably will not be happy with a lot of things, probably the way you do things and all that." And he realized how important that was for him as well. So, because when this contract has been given to a lot of clients, they think, "Oh, it's just for the photographer or the videographer." No, it's to protect you as an individual as well as a couple. Okay, so if you're a couple, ask for a contract from your photographer or your videographer, because it would protect both of you, and all the details of your agreement and everything should be stipulated in that contract as well. So I think that's a third thing apart from communication. Other thing I want to highlight is you need to make sure you take a lot of photos of the couple on the wedding day, and also understand what is most important to these couples. It could be their grandparents, it could be their adopted parents, it could be their own parents, and it could be their friends and family. But you need to also know that these people are very important in their lives. And so you take a lot of photos of the couples, together, individually, but also take a lot of photos of the people that they hold dearly to their heart. Is very critical. Take a lot of photos. If it's their grandma, so that is why I always set up at least 3 conversations with my couples. One in the beginning, one in the middle, and one in the tail end. The first one, when I get to know them, I want to know the people in their life. I want to know how they met each other. I want to know about their journey, if they're willing to talk about it. So I make the conversation so relaxed and so good, so that I get to know them. And through that conversation, for me, it's very important, because then I can set the tone. I can understand their needs. I can understand the kind of person they have, because couples are quite different. And you remember, it is always the man and the woman. So it's not just one person. Even those two people are different. They are different in nature. The bride might want something else. The groom might want something else. You have to balance the equation. But if you don't get to know them, you just run into a lot of problems. And that is one thing that is very important as well. Take any photo. If you're not sure about a particular photo, or maybe you should take it something, or should take something or not, just take it. Just take it. Having multiple photos, having a lot of photos is better than just having a few. And then when they request for some couples come back to you and they ask you, oh, did you take the photo of that? Did you take the photo? And you'll be like, oh, I thought that wasn't important. You could have taken it. It doesn't cost much. So just take it, as it is as well. And the other thing I want to say is about delivery. If you, a lot of photographers and videographers, what is in our head and mind is, oh, I just want to, once you take the money and once you appear on the day and you take the photos and you did all that, and then now the couple is waiting for months, for weeks. I mean, that's fine if it's in the contract and you said, okay, you can wait for 1 year. But if you say the pictures will be ready will be ready in 4 days, then you have to keep to those 4 days. You have to keep. If you say 5 days, if it's 2 weeks, the way I do it is I always give them a range, maybe between 7 to 14 days. But normally I deliver those photos even way before those dates. But it's good to have that range. But you might think about something else that work for you, but make sure that you follow what you promise. You have to, make sure you remember your promises and you fulfill them. This is very important because remember that your couple will give you a review. Some couples, even if you don't ask them for review, they might write a rubbish review probably on your page or somewhere else. They might just hunt you down or just destroy your image. I've seen this happen, and even I've watched a lot of photographers talk about this on YouTube and else, whereby they've had issues with clients, and this client will go and write, reviews, and reviews does affect people's, perception about you and things like that. I know there are some certain cases that there's nothing you can do with couples. I've seen some couples that are very difficult to please. No matter what you do, they'll still be like, no, I thought this, I thought this, I thought that. So there are couples like that. But if you have done every single thing that's in that contract, and you make sure that you delivered as at when due, and make sure you fulfill everything, then you will have a smooth day. Also, one of the bonus tip I will say is that is very, very important is have a conversation with your couple at least a week before their wedding. You will be surprised that a lot of couples will forget to tell you that something has changed sometimes. Something that is very critical sometimes change about their wedding that could affect your own production. But unless you speak to them like a week or two before their wedding, you might not get to know it. Because when I call them up maybe a week or two before their wedding, I always encourage them to say, oh, are we all set and everything. Before I go, I will say, is there anything that you want to bring my attention to? Anything that has changed from the last time we spoke? Anything that you want to tell me? They said, oh, yes. And I've seen situations whereby people actually say, oh, yes, I forgot to call you. I forgot to tell you this, blah, 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 blah. And also, I almost ran into it that verbally they said, they told me maybe like a month or two before their wedding that their wedding date has changed. I'm telling you, I was like confused. I was like, when did we have this conversation and all that? But because it wasn't documented, it was just verbal conversation, and I couldn't find a trace of email or text regarding that almost got me into trouble. But luckily, because I called them just a week before their wedding to confirm the date, the wedding date, the wedding venue again and everything, and it was during that process they said to me that, oh, our wedding has changed, the venue has changed, the time has changed. I was like, wow, all this thing has changed. This will have affected everything, because I even have another plan for that date as well. But luckily, I was able to avoid that issue. So you make sure you avoid those situations. Make sure you always have a conversation at least 2 weeks or maximum of a week before, so that will help you to understand if there's any changes and you need to make any changes to your own production as well. Okay, so that is all that I want to share with you guys today in my review. And I still have other series coming up on weddings, and so as we go along, I'll be sharing my experiences and talking about other things that could make you have a wonderful wedding as well, even from a client and also from the photographer and the videographer as well. Thank you for joining me on this review today. If you enjoyed this review, I will appreciate it if you can smash that like button. That will help my channel to the YouTube algorithm to recommend my channel to other people that might be interested in my content as well. And for a small channel me, like this, it means a lot, and it could help us move forward as well. Thank you for joining me. I'll see you guys next time, and I say bye bye.